C2 Wrestling podcast back. The boys are back together. It has been an insane 8 days roughly in wrestling. I feel like there's so much to talk about that it's almost overwhelming.
Yeah.
When there's just so many things going on, you're just like, I don't even know where to start. I mean, I do know one thing to start with, but there's just so much. I just feel so pampered.
Yeah. It was a crazy week or so in wrestling. It was a crazy week or so for C2. We did really well this weekend. Love the support. We got a bit of a blow up, I'll say, in one of our recent videos. Crowd reaction you had posted at Bad Blood of The Rock returning, Jimmy Uso returning. Go back on C2's channel and check those vids out. It's great stuff. It's been a wild week, like you said, from Bad Blood to Raw being 2 hours again, NXT on the CW, SmackDown still to come. Like you said, there's a lot to talk about, but I'm going to ask you, where do you want to begin?
I got to begin. We'll get to The Rock in a second
Mm-hmm.
because that's obviously a massive thing to talk about.
Yeah.
I got to begin a little bit selfishly, actually,
Okay.
because the past year, past 10 months that I have had has literally been like 10 months that when you're a kid, you kind of dream about. And I've been very,
Mm.
I don't like, I've been very like grateful in the last few days. I got to go to Bad Blood. Just this year alone, I've gone to 11 WWE shows.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a lot.
yeah, I've also, I've went to a TNA show.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be hitting another TNA pay-per-view in December. Went to an MLW pay-per-view. Like I've done a lot, but this year WWE wise, all of WrestleMania weekend, Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, and then cap it off with Bad Blood. That's probably it for the year. I would assume so for
Mm-hmm.
me with WWE shows. It is like when I was a kid and you're like, man, like I just want to travel to all of these shows and go to them. And like, look, I'm not saying I could afford to do that, but this year, schedule wise, work wise, things kind of just played in my favor. And the last few days, I found myself very grateful because wrestling has been fantastic and it's almost played out like perfectly for me
Yeah.
that I'm at a point in life where I had the ability to go to all these shows. But more importantly, all of these shows were like so good that you want to be at them. You want to go see them. So going to Bad Blood as I wear the Bad Blood shirt, I got to begin with I fully understand green shirt guy. I understand all those like who just go to every show
Yeah.
possible. Like, yeah, yeah. Like I couldn't imagine getting sick of it. It is
Yeah.
that fun.
It's funny that you reference him because I was about to bring him up and say, you look at guys like that as a kid and you're like, man, how lucky is he that he gets to go to every show? And now it is a great period in wrestling. So I do often think, man, they're so lucky. That's awesome. I also agree. I would love to go to every show. Ooh, I don't know. If you asked me during the purple shirt Cena era, it might be a little bit of a different answer. Listen, all the pay per view is short, but I don't know if I need to be front center for every Raw. Those guys have been going crazy for years. But wrestling, man, WWE specifically, it's so hot right now. Mania weekend was obviously a while ago at this point. It's October. That was something special. And we've done Manias before. We did 33. That was our first Mania together, too. So that in hindsight will always be memorable. But man, there was something special about Mania 40. There was something in the air that night, those nights, I should say, that whole weekend. Raw, SmackDown, NXT, WWE World. Man, just from like a personal standpoint, too, just all like the inside jokes we have about everything we did at the shows and how it all went down. Wrestling is special for me. It really is. I feel like I've mentioned this already on the podcast. I think my earliest memory growing up is truly watching the TV and wrestling being on the screen. That's as far back as I can think. I can't remember a time without it, and there never will be a time without it. It's the best thing ever. I
Yeah.
don't understand how people can't be fans. You don't got to watch every week, but I don't understand how there isn't like a respect and an understanding as to what wrestling is and why it's so huge.
Yeah. And a lot of my closest friends are diehard wrestling fans.
Mm-hmm.
Some aren't. Some are even just fair weather wrestling fans, but a lot of my closest friends, my best friends, are wrestling fans. And that is one thing that I've said. It's on almost every day. You're talking about it all the time. There's
Mm,
always something to talk about. But at the same time, when you have a weekend like WrestleMania weekend, or even kind of similar, my quick little trip for going to see Bad Blood, you correlate a lot of these memories with people to wrestling. Like our Mania 40 weekend trip, like obviously it was all about wrestling.
mm.
And we went to all these wrestling shows, and everything we did was centered around WrestleMania weekend and everything we were doing. But it's like, I don't know, like to almost be like corny. There's like a togetherness with your
Yeah.
friends in doing it all. And then there's just little things from every trip that you just never forget. And they correlate. Like you say, your Wawa pinwheels. Like now you will always think of
Yeah,
WrestleMania weekend. And
you
that's
know,
the
so
type of things.
that's funny. I'm gonna elaborate on that for the C2 wrestling fans. Okay, so this is a little bit of a story time for the C2 wrestling fans. Mania 40 weekend, Monday Night Raw. We pull up to the arena pretty early, pretty early. We got nothing better to do. It was either sit at home or, go to the show. So we pull up, we're hanging out in the parking lot, and we just park. We didn't go up and plan to park anywhere. We just park. And we see a car pull up. And it pulls in front of where we're parked, kind of like an entrance on the side. And it's a big van, big Escalade. And somebody sticks their hand out the driver's window. And I see tattoos on their hands. And I go, oh man, who could that be? Who's got tattoos on their hands? And you go, oh, it's got to be Corey Graves. And I go, oh, you're right. It's got to be Corey Graves. And we're sitting there now, maybe 100 yards away. I'm eating these pinwheels from the greatest convenience store in the world, Wawa. Pinwheels, right? Just turkey, cheese, lettuce. I'm eating them, dry. I got a water on the side, but they're dry. And all of a sudden, out of the distance, we start hearing CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk. We run out of this car, book it to this little barrier where there's maybe 15 people standing. I'm running, eating the pinwheels. I'm just tossing them down as we run over to this barrier. Again, there's maybe 10, 15 people standing there, and out walks CM Punk, nice as could be, wouldn't shut up, just kept talking. Goes up to everybody at this barrier, takes a photograph with everybody. We have a photograph with CM Punk. And guess what? I got food in my teeth, running down to this barrier, so excited, eating these pinwheels, big old smile on my face, and just some tortilla hanging right there in my gums. Unforgettable. Unforgettable. Every time now I go to this convenience store Wawa all the time, and I still get these things. And every time I eat them now, like it takes me back to Mania 40.
So one thing, my cheeks hurt. One thing I do have to mention, or two things. First of all, we weren't even going to park there. We were
Oh,
going to park. We were parking in the same spot that we had parked for Mania weekend. Because if you went to Mania 40 in Philadelphia, the Link and Wells Fargo are right next to each other, and the parking
mm,
lots are right there. So we parked at Wells Fargo for both Mania shows and SmackDown in like the same spot,
yeah.
roughly. So we were going to park in the same area.
Great
Well,
parking, by the way. Best stadium parking I've ever had in my
it
life.
it was great. Normally it's a nightmare, but I guess
Yeah.
since they had both lots open, it was so good. The spot that we were going to park in was blocked off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we parked where we were. Like if our normal spot wasn't blocked off, look, I'm not a big believer on fate or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we would have been parked in that normal spot. We would have been kicked back and probably would have taken a nap in the car, not thought anything of it. But I
Oh,
do have to say, I will never, never not laugh. Punk is going around taking the pictures. Punk,
uh-huh.
such a nice guy that he can see us struggling to get the proper angle for
Angle.
all
Yeah.
three of us because we're best friends. We'll just take the picture together. I don't
Yeah. It's
I don't need
fine.
my own picture with
Yeah.
Punk. If anything, it's even better the three of us.
Mm-hmm.
Angle's a little off. Punk adjusts, to make it easier for Snowden as he takes the picture. He's got longer arms than me, so it's better for him to do it. And I will never forget. We take that picture. I don't have it on my phone because it's on Snowden's phone. I'm like, oh man, we just met CM Punk. And the first thing you say, food in my
Oh,
teeth.
food in my teeth, thank God. here's
Uh,
here's my thing. Here's my thing. Okay, listen. It happens, man. All right, you have a photo with food in your teeth. You stain your shirt. It happens. You know how many photos I have with CM Punk? Take a guess how many photos I have with CM Punk.
I think it rhymes with done.
One. I have one photo with CM Punk, and I got tortilla hanging out of my upper lip. Thank God. Good
So
times.
in wrestling, obviously, it's quite popular nowadays to say finish the story. C2 Wrestling storyline. You took a picture with Punk with food in your teeth. You need to finish your story and have a picture with Punk. One of two things. You don't have food in your teeth, or he has food in his teeth, and you guys are even.
Yeah, one way or another, we need to even out the playing field. Man, it's to me, like, people would be embarrassed. It's hilarious. It only adds to like the story and the photo to me, in all honesty. This right here, if it was just a photo with Punk, we wouldn't even really be talking about the story, but it's something funny and something memorable. Now, it does lead me to bring up just other people that showed up. CM Punk was the only one that came up and took photographs with everybody. But man, that we saw the likes of Sami Zayn over there. R-Truth rolled up singing his own theme music, which is just hysterical. That's so funny. Andrade was there with Charlotte. You know, people are going crazy. It's obviously wrestling weekend. We have only really met wrestlers in the fashion of paying to meet them at meet and greets. We were lucky enough to bump into CM Punk, but man, all over wrestling world too, WWE world, there are fans that make me really wonder what it's like to be a wrestler and to be just bumping into people in public left and right. It's one thing at the barrier of Raw WrestleMania weekend to be yelling for Punk and asking for a photo. These people that are meeting him at airports and all this crazy stuff, I don't get it. Yes, in that parking lot at that event, we were hyped. We ran out and met CM Punk. If that was at a restaurant or something, it's not even crossing my mind to just walk the other way. Like, I'm not even walking down the street where he's alone gonna really go up and like say something, because I just don't care that much. It's okay. As cool as it is, I don't need the photo. But if I'm gonna get the photo, there better be food in my teeth.
Well, I've talked about on this channel when I flew to SummerSlam.
Uh,
Liv Morgan was on my flight, and I took one of the earliest flights out. It was like a 6 or 7 a.m. flight, and she was sat a row in front of me. Humble brag, we were both in first class. But I saw multiple people go up to her. She was obviously very nice. You know, I saw interactions with people in the airport. And then I also saw when she reached the point of the scalpers and stuff like that. And, you know, I didn't say hi to her. You know, I didn't, if I were to say anything to her, I would have been a nice
hey, big
interaction or
fan.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know, normal interaction. But like mainly on like those scalpers, like pretty much everyone that I saw interact with her were normal people like us who are fans, and they treated her with respect and she gave them respect back, and it was great
Mm-hmm.
interactions, and they have lifelong memories. And then you get to the point where it's like those airport scalpers, and it's just like I just don't get how you can even the lack of self-awareness or
Yeah.
the lack of care for your own self, like just it's just weird to me. Weird, you know, like I
Yeah.
I understand, you know, you meet someone that you watch and you want to take a picture with them or anything like that, with them, I should say. And if you're nice, you know, normally most of the time goes well. But those people, and then they're rude and
It's
stuff, like
baffling.
I just don't get it.
You know, it's crazy to me. You and I are similar, where we don't care what people think about us. You can like us, hate us, it's fine. It doesn't matter. I don't care, but I'm also not actively doing things that are gonna make people hate me or stand out. Like ask for 45 signatures right off the back of a 5 a.m. flight or something. Like, it's the craziest thing to me. I feel bad a lot of the time seeing those wrestlers just go down the line because it's quicker and easier for them to just sign 40 times than it is to say no 40 times. These lines pile up. It's crazy that you can go up to one of these wrestlers. All right, Mysterio, I'm a big fan. Here, can you sign this Funko Pop 45 times for me? And then to still just go on, be like, oh man, you were great. I'm a big fan. Love you. And really think that like he cares in a way and like respects you. Like you're clearly annoying him. You know, you're clearly like in his way right now, her way, whoever it is. I feel like it tends to be the females a lot that I see a lot of the clips of at the airport. I don't get it. You said it. The self awareness is negative. It's insane to me.
I think it was Bully Ray that said this, or he was quoting someone, but I believe I heard it from him. And he said, nice fans get what they want, rude fans get what they deserve. And
Yeah.
that's like a very simple way of looking at things. Before we wrap up the topic of meeting wrestlers, whatever, I have to mention I did just meet Xavier Woods the day before Bad Blood. I went to the Bad Blood store, and that the photo op was originally at 4 o'clock, and I had work. I had no chance of going to it because I was going to be at work the entire time. I got to the store and they were like, "Oh yeah, the meet and greet's at 12:30," and I looked and they changed the time. So I don't know what changed, but I have to say, Xavier Woods, I have met a lot of nice wrestlers. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of hard to compare them because a lot of them are really nice. He's up there as like a more memorable, like, wow, what a just genuinely nice person. You can tell when someone's being nice because they're at work and they're kind of, PRing it. And when someone's just a
Yeah.
genuinely nice person, and Xavier Woods like oozed that. That was a great experience.
Yeah. You know, we've both met a handful of wrestlers and we've had great experiences. We've had the PR experiences and some bad ones too. We maybe won't touch on the bad ones, but it leads me to bring up just some wrestlers that I've met in the past that were fantastic to meet. Kevin Owens, we met together in New Jersey at a local meet and greet. That was, you know, right at the heyday of him challenging Cena for the US title. So Owens was very big at the time. Couldn't have been nicer. Another guy for me was Christian. I met at a Comic Con one year. Incredible. Took time. Like no one else was coming up. There's no lines. We were hanging out. You know, he was a great guy to meet. But man, there's been a couple PRs. There's been a couple bad ones. There's one bad one that I want to bring up that we met together. Man, I understand being a pro wrestler, a celebrity, an athlete, and how exhausting it could be just everywhere you go, getting stopped, harassed, asked for a photo, an autograph, you know. There's a level of John Cena where John Cena cannot go to Starbucks and get a cup of coffee compared to an actor. An Adam Sandler cannot go get a cup of coffee. You know who can go get a cup of coffee?
Let's not use names though.
Kurt Hawkins. No, no, I'm using his name. I'm using his name. I don't care. I want people out there to know. Okay. I don't know
Yeah.
what his deal
Yeah,
was, but
that was a
man,
bad experience. And
that
it's
was a
crazy
bad
because I see
experience,
so
you know?
many people have like
Good
great experiences
experiences.
with them. And um look, I'm a firm believer everybody has bad days. Everyone has bad days.
Yes.
Um but
We've
yeah,
met
that
other
was
bad ones too. There's other bad ones that we won't get into necessarily, you know? But I
yeah, for
feel like
sure.
that's another like story of ours in our lifetime of being wrestling fans is out of all these meet and greets, there's standout ones that were so nice, like Woods and Christian and whatnot. But there's other ones that stand out for the wrong reason. I'll never forget that meet and greet for just the way it went down. I couldn't even believe it, to be honest.
Yeah, and the worst part too is the backstory. And look,
Yes.
we've already mentioned it. I may as well tell the story at this point.
Mm.
Um, and then I promise we'll get into The Rock and big things in wrestling. The backstory was we were going to a show, and in hindsight, this was a crazy show. Kenny Omega main
Yeah.
evented this show.
Crazy.
Like it's an insane show. Rey Mysterio was there, Mick Foley was there. Like it was a
Mm-hmm.
crazy show. And Brian Myers was there. And I have always been a Brian Myers fan.
Yes.
And not only have I been a Brian Myers fan, I'm a Mets fan, diehard Mets fan,
Hmm.
LFGM. Brian Myers had a T-shirt that I really wanted to get. It was a Prince of Queens with it was the Mets logo, super sick. I was like, love it. My favorite baseball team, really like this wrestler. I'm buying this shirt. I made it clear before we even got there to you that I was purchasing this shirt.
Hmm.
Like it was on the checklist of things that we're going to meet Mysterio. I'm getting this signed. We're meeting Foley. I'm getting this signed. I'm going to Brian Myers' table and I'm buying a
Getting the
shirt.
shirt. Yeah.
And I think I'm pretty sure he was a face at the time too. I don't even think it was a heel.
Yeah.
Um, he was just having a bad day, I guess. And look, it was early parts of the meet and greet, but I mean, there's shoulders colder in Antarctica than the shoulders he gave us.
Yeah, listen, we've had some other notable names that are clearly there because they're getting paid to be there. And that's okay. I understand that. I really do. I'm not the 9 year old kid that's, going crazy and I need the gimmick run up. These are people, it's a job. But to that point, when you have that stature to yourself, when you are a notable name, you got to do your best, man, to keep up that act, I guess. That was, it turns people off, we'll say.
I mean, it obviously worked out for him. He's doing amazing with his
Yeah.
channel and Cardona. But maybe that's my story for C2
Yeah.
Wrestling. Yours is you need a picture with CM Punk
Mm-hmm.
without food in your teeth or food in his teeth. And I need a positive interaction with Brian Myers where I get a Prince of Queens Met shirt or something. I did not buy the shirt, as most of you would probably
Yeah.
understand at this point. So who knows? Maybe one day, we gain a little traction or something, and this gets clipped and brought back. And I'm sure if it did, it would get taken out of context. But
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe that's my story one day to finish with C2 is
Yep.
a nice positive interaction with Brian
Brian
Myers
Myers.
as we smile and take our picture.
There's no beef. There's no
No, it's not
beef.
personal, not at
Not
all.
personal. No, it's just a story. We want to meet again, Brian, one day. One more small fun fact. At that same event, we helped Mick Foley send a tweet.
We did. We did. That
Mm-hmm.
same night was it the night Sasha and Bailey
Bailey.
faced?
Yep.
Yeah,
It
that was
was.
there. We helped Mick Foley send out that tweet where he said great job. And also what is hilarious from that night that I must mention.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Omega obviously is huge, but during the meet and greet sessions, this is if anyone listening knows anything about Jersey independent wrestling, I walked right past Kenny Omega to walk right up to a wrestler named Habib from the car wash because I loved that guy.
Oh,
That guy, if
God.
he's still wrestling, that dude
Oh, God.
ruled. That dude was great.
God, that's
I,
crazy. That's like walking right past AJ Styles to shake James Ellsworth's hand.
yeah,
It's
that's
like
literally
that's
that's yeah, pretty
it's
much.
crazy. And
I
it's
walked
funny
right
too.
past. I think Omega might be in the background of the picture. I
He
have to
might
look.
be. Omega might have taken the picture if I didn't.
Yeah,
He could have.
honestly, he might have.
Yeah, that's really funny in hindsight. It really is. Omega back, we're still fans of Omega to this day. And back then, he was still notable. Jersey wrestling, independent wrestling is huge over here. And that's so funny in hindsight. That's great.
Yeah. So now we can get into the topics of oh, you know what? I think Kenny was to the side. I just pulled up the picture. I think Kenny was to the side
Okay.
and he moved over. I do also have to mention, I don't remember being this fat. God damn. I was not missing meals. Holy hell.
That's what, man. That's 10 years ago, right?
It was I just had it
Nine
up.
years.
It was August 22nd, 2015.
Wow.
Almost
Crazy.
exactly 10 years ago. We are
Time flies.
just past the 9 year anniversary. But let's get into some big stuff from wrestling now that if you made it this far of the absolute rambling of us. But that's the beauty of the C2 Wrestling podcast. The Rock coming back. Great moment. Little expected with, everyone kind of had a hunch. Didn't really take away from it, in my opinion. I don't think we're getting him wrestling anytime soon, though.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And like, I think this is very weird to say, but The Rock is in his own category for so many things that there's so many things that he could do that other people can't. And like, even other legends of his stature. But like this story, he can just show up and kind of do like the hey, I'm watching you, and then not show up for 3 more months. And it still makes perfect sense. And that's just odd to say because, you don't like that's such a weird tease if we're nowhere near a match or anything like that. But I don't think we see him wrestle anytime soon. But I was quite happy to be there in house for that moment.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see him back. It is one of the only people that can probably come back, say nothing, and it means something. And it does mean something. It means exactly what you said. I'm still lurking. I'm still watching. I didn't go nowhere. I'll be back. Got my eyes on you. And that's it. It's very simple. That is like it's like wrestling 101, I feel like, for that to have so much meaning behind it. The Rock, I agree. I don't think he's wrestling until Mania. But I feel like again, a wordless promo in a way had so much power. I think it is easy to read the room there and see that Rock is kind of pitting himself between Roman and this new bloodline and Cody. And that was clearly Roman or Rock showing up saying, I got my eyes on you, Cody, but also Roman. Yeah, oh, there you go. Good eyebrow. I can't do the eyebrow. Can't do high pitched voices, can't do the eyebrow. But it's a good stepping stone to what's to come. Hollywood is crazy. The Rock schedule is crazy. He's very much seems set in stone that he's returning to wrestling, coming back. But I don't know if DC or Marvel or somebody big comes calling. You never know. Plans could change, but having him show up 6 months later, right in between the timeline of Mania, it's good. It's a sign that their plans are still in motion. Rock is coming back. Him versus Roman seems imminent. Maybe they go the Cody route though. Maybe it's Rock versus Cody at Mania, but Rock versus Roman seems to be the way to go for me.
Yeah, we had Solo going through the crowd saying it's all a part of the plan, which kind of feeds into the rumors that The Rock has been behind Solo and the new bloodline this entire time. Now, obviously, we'll have to wait and see on that. I think it was either the WWE's channel itself or one of their channels that posted the video of The Rock's return and put that he's looking at Roman Reigns, like specifically mentioned Roman Reigns, and I think then removed it. I'm not 100% sure,
Mm-hmm.
but obviously this story has so many layers to Cody and Roman working together, and then Roman also coming back to help Cody when the bloodline started attacking him. Has The Rock now having friction with Roman for his change of hearts? Has Owens turning heel on Cody, which we saw after, could spark something with a Randy Orton or maybe a Jey Uso or something like that. There's so many layers, there's so many stories intertwined, and that's, to really just beat the dead horse again. One of the huge differences with pre and post or pre and current Triple H running WWE, the continuity, but also the interwebbing of all these different characters and their stories and why they need to be paired together and why things make sense. Seth Rollins returns on Raw, and when Jay gets into the ring, Rollins kind of looks annoyed. And to be honest, Rollins is the type of character that even though him and Jay have been a little bit better, there's so much going on with Cody, and he even mentions it. Like that's these characters shouldn't just be focused on, oh, I'm feuding with this person. The rest is all irrelevant. I don't know anything else that's going on outside of just our story. The Rock comes back, that affects the entire company. Roman and Cody teaming, that affects the entire company. That affects this storyline on this date, affects this storyline on this date. Like that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, it's also interesting to think that with an upcoming Rumble, right? The obvious plan in motion is Cody, Roman, The Rock, the Bloodline. Their fates are all tied to some degree. Maybe somebody can intertwine into this too. Maybe it's not Rollins. I don't know. Maybe it's not Drew. Maybe CM Punk wins the Rumble. And maybe he does end up going for the world title, but there's still going to be that tidbit of, oh, I'm coming for the WWE Championship. It's another just example of them intertwining all these storylines. I want to bring up the Kevin Owens attack on Cody Rhodes after Bloodline by his van, by his RV, whatever you want to call it. No cameras outside of fans' cameras. Say that with the little ears, because listen, I'm sure there's a plant or two there. You know, it is what it is. It's great stuff, guys. We here at C2, listen, we're not starting any beef with anybody, but I'm calling out the bad takes. I'm calling out the tired takes. Seeing people online crapping on this, on Kevin Owens attacking Cody with no cameras, not on TV, having the fans record it and put it up. It's fantastic stuff. If you're not liking it, you're watching with intent to find something to crap on. And that's your goal, is to post online about how bad something is and hopefully gain some traction when in reality, you know just as well as we do. It's great stuff.
It's 2024. WWE isn't posting on tout anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
When they do
Yeah.
something on their social medias, all we ever see is this was posted on social media, got 15 million views over the weekend over all their channels, blah, blah, blah. If they do anything strictly for social media, it's going to still reach a massive audience. I was
Yeah.
listening a little bit to Bronson Reed's interview with Chris Van Vliet. Great interview if you
I
haven't
got to check
listened.
that one out. Yeah.
I'm about halfway through it, but they start talking about Bronson Reed's viral moments. And like some of the things that they did on Raw, we're thinking, oh, that might gain traction, whatever. These things are for social media. It's 2024.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're doing things for the internet.
Yeah.
Doing something strictly for social media is not, it's not something that you should do every single time, but it's not some horrible idea or some like complete fail. Or I saw someone like, oh, they were afraid of the crowd reaction. Like, that's just all nonsense. That just doesn't even
It's
make, it's stuff that just isn't logical when you say it. Like, look, we aren't the oldest,
yeah.
but we're also not young. And we know there's a lot of young fans out there. So sometimes they post things that they just don't get it because they're not old enough yet. Whatever.
Yeah.
We were once 15 and 14 and thought something didn't make sense or whatever. And when you get older, it makes more sense because you've seen it more. I don't see how you could be annoyed, upset, think it's terrible. Look, you don't have to think it's the greatest thing ever, but I don't think it was bad by any means. I actually think it was a very good idea and done well. Where the hell are you going to put that in your stories when you just had the damn Rock and Jimmy Uso return and that's taking up your time? You're going to have that happen on SmackDown? Like, it doesn't need to happen on SmackDown. You can show it. This happened if you're the minority that aren't on social media. We've been teasing it for weeks. It's not like we didn't know it was coming.
There's a few reasons why I think it's great, and two reasons. One, it's different. Simple as that. It's a different way of doing things that they've never done before. Different is not always good, but it's good to try at least. And when you succeed in being different, it only makes it great. And that's what that segment was great. It only plays into the Kevin Owens character, the Kevin Owens story of how personal this is to Kevin Owens. That this isn't about being on TV. It's not even really about the WWE Championship. It's about Cody Rhodes and the riff and how could you do this? How could you be on his side? It only placates to that fan that realizes that's the story. Again, we're calling out the tired takes here. There's some bad takes on the internet. There's a large community online that they're just going to find something to hate in no matter what product we get, whether it's good, bad, whatever it is, there's going to be something they pull out of there and try and crap on. I don't see how there's anything to even attempt to pull out of this and hate. I think it's foolish to take any of this and go, oh, this is going to go over, and to type it up and think people are going to love it. It's foolish to me.
Well,
You're not a real wrestling fan, if you
some of
want to ask
them,
me.
some of them, it is rage bait. Like some of them,
Yes, of course, yes.
I get it. I know how the internet works and stuff. Like you're gonna get more.
Trolling, a
Yeah,
lot of trolls.
you're gonna get more traction on your tweet and your Elon bucks for
Yeah,
disagreeing. and whatever, and that garners more reactions and stuff like that. I get it. Some of it I think is just dumb. And
Hmm.
me personally, like I am king of the mute button. I see something, I'm like, muted, gone, don't need it. Like, look, I'm not saying if you have one bad tweet, I'm going to mute you, but if you have a certain tweet where I can tell the type of account you are, muted, gone, don't need you.
Hmm.
I don't need it on my feed. One thing on the Kevin Owens heel turn though, and for the people of, oh, this is dumb, whatever. You have 2 nights later when Cody Rhodes appears on Raw, Sami Zayn greets him. And one of the first things Sammy says is, "Hey, do you want to talk about what happened with Kevin?" I could, that's let's not talk about whatever. A piece of me does kind of think they might go with the story where Cody's kind of forgiving Kevin because he understands it. He
Yeah.
understands why he got attacked and why Owens would be so frustrated. So I do think that might be a possibility for the story. But again, like it just makes perfect sense. Just because it happened on social media, Sami Zayn shouldn't, ignore the elephant in the room
Yeah.
that his best friend just attacked the guy he's close with.
Well, let me, to your point of it being on social media and how great it is for social media. Again, not everything has to be made for social media. There's a lot of people, again, online that speed championship, for example, things pulling in millions of views, guys. It might be a weird gimmick that nobody cares about, but they're making money off of it. They're making revenue off of these clips. They're gaining traction. If I'm a kid and I'm at school and I hear through the grapevine, oh man, did you see after the show, Cody Rhodes got attacked by Kevin Owens? All day at school on my mind is going to be what happened. I didn't see that. What happened? I'm booking it off the bus, running inside, throwing my backpack down, ripping up the computer. Kevin Owens attacks Cody Rhodes, and I'm looking up that clip. That traction online, that social media traction for all the ratings professionals out there, the people that run the Nielsen ratings on Twitter, it's bigger than that. You can be the demo god, whatever you guys want to call yourselves, whatever. Social media is a heavier influence than almost the cable ratings at this point. To do something like that only opens the door for more opportunities in wrestling to also do segments like this again. It's great stuff. I'm going to leave it at that.
One thing that did seem very common now with WWE's social and their social media this past Monday on Raw, obviously the first 2 hour Raw in years. Have to say, I don't think the show timing wise was very good. I think there was a lot off, and there might be some growing pains. We're so used to Raw being 3 hours, but it's not like WWE doesn't book 2 hour shows to begin with. But I did see a lot of, maybe they've been doing this entire time and I just didn't notice it as much. But I saw a ton of clips from Raw Talk on my feed, and it was pretty much like enhancement of stories, backstage promos, whatever, that probably would have been on Raw if Raw was 3 hours. Like one of them I saw Woods and Kofi had a backstage, conversation or whatever that was on Raw Talk. I think Jay Uso cut a promo on Braun Breaker for
Mm-hmm.
attacking him. Like I saw all these clips and I was like, I don't remember all this happening before and being all over my feed, but I think they're going to use social media a little bit more for Monday Night Raw because they have all these stories going on and now they have less time to put them on. So
Yeah.
there's going to be even more that you need to follow on social media for.
Yeah, absolutely. They found out about Raw going to 2 hours months ago. Sure, I get it. But you have a show, a roster that is built for 3 hours now. You have integrated stories that can fill a 3 hour show. For the entirety of 3 hour Raw, up until 6 months ago, I would have said put Raw back to 2 hours. Once they start hitting the mark and fill the 3 hour shows, is where it goes back. And now you're losing a little bit of that. A little bit of a tired take again, but I'd seen a lot of people online referencing like the multi-woman match that happened on Raw. They did like a 4v4 or 5v5 women's match on Monday Night Raw. And listen, I get it. Like, yeah, of course, we'd all rather these people have their individual segments, matches. It means a bit more. But this is where, like, you can't just have it all. would you rather them not be on TV? Because with the 2 hour slot, you're not fitting them all. You can maybe pull the two bigger women out of that match and have whatever segment you want to have, but the other 6 or 8 women aren't going to make the show. They're just going to be on Raw Talk or whatever it is, which is still something. But people are going to complain no matter what. If they weren't on Raw, why didn't they put them in a match? If they put them in an 8 woman tag match, that's bullshit. Why were they in a multi woman match? I don't know what you guys want. It's never going to be a perfect world. If there was an 8 men match or whatever, it's fine. I would also understand it. It's the same thing where I understand it for the women. How else are you going to get Jay and Cody and Gunther and whoever, all these guys on TV? You put them in a tag match to fill the slot. They've done it for the test of time. I'm not a huge fan of it, but once in a blue moon, it's okay to fill the slot. I just hope it doesn't persist through the next, what do we got, 10 weeks until Netflix? I hope it's
Something like
not
that.
eight woman, 10 woman tag matches every week. Then there's a complaint there, sure. It's been 1 week of this 2 hour Raw. They're going to work out the kinks. I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah, and I mean for me, Raw's timing was all jacked up. Like Woods versus Jay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if Raw was 3 hours, it's going to be a 15, 20 minute match, go through a commercial break, whatever. I felt like I watched more commercials as I drill my knee on to the desk. I felt like I watched more commercials than I did that actual match itself. And that
Yeah.
match felt like it could have been 10 minutes longer than it was and just didn't have the time. So it was very weird because obviously SmackDown is 2 hours long, NXT is 2 hours long with a hard cutoff. So it's not like they don't have these shows that are 2 hours and this completely brand new to them. But the first one, it was rough around the edges for a few parts. I don't know if they still have more commercials to get in or if it was they didn't want as many commercials for the main event with the world title match, so they were trying to just burn them
Mm.
all as quick as possible and kind of use that Jay Woods match and the women's tag match as the prime spots. I don't know. But if there's one thing we know about WWE and we know about Triple H is he is online, he is listening. If something is really that bad, they are going to change it. They're not going to continuously do something that is that bad. And, you watch NXT at the time of this recording, NXT just happened. That show went perfectly smooth, flew by. Like it was a very quick 2 hours. SmackDown this past Friday flew by. I think we're going to get to that point with Raw where the pacing gets better, the commercial layout gets better, and, it'll fly by. And then you're going to blink and we're going to be back to 3 hour Raws anyway. So,
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't matter in the long run, really. This is a weird 10 week blip of time that is really forgettable in the grand scheme of things. Again, comparing it to SmackDown and NXT, which have been 2 hour shows, Raw has a little bit of a larger roster for being the larger show and the longer show. And then let's say SmackDown and NXT, these 2 hour shows, if you can build 8 to 10 stories in a 2 hour show, on the 3 hour show, you can build 11 to 12. But when you take that time slot of 11 to 12 and you knock it down to 8 to 10, you don't have as much time for the stories. Things are going to have to be taken off TV. We're going to see less Miz and R-Truth probably for the next few weeks. They would have had a match tonight, I'm sure, some sort of screwy singles match, or on Monday night, rather, if it was a 3 hour show. But
well, they're having a
again,
match
like you
next
said,
week.
just to reiterate, yeah, they're going to have it next week. But what happened this week in a match that is now going to be a segment next week because the time split, a Jay and Woods happened this week, so it's not going to happen next week because they can only have one of those matches each week now. They can't fill
Yep.
the time with both of those, and that's fine. It is what it is. Like you said, it's week one. They're not going to see the unsuccessful moments and go, let's continue that. They're going to work out the commercials. I do agree with what you said. I think the commercials being heavy was to make sure the main event wasn't heavy commercialized, which is fine in my opinion, but it was a little overkill. It was a lot of like, oh my gosh, another commercial going on through this Raw. Sounds crazy because we see so many commercials through a 3 hour Raw. So it's weird to be complaining about less commercials
Yeah.
in a smaller show, a shorter show, but it was a lot. It still, in my opinion, was a good show. They got the point across and everything they were trying to get across. Timing wise, some kinks to be worked out.
Yeah, I also didn't look at any spoilers for next week's Raw, oddly. I kind of avoided it.
I've been trying to avoid it because I want to just watch it as is. I did see two big things that pretty decent things that I'm actually surprised is maybe on like a taped show. It's not like it's a massive return crazy thing, but bigger things. I don't want to spoil it for you, but Raw looks pretty good next week.
Yeah, I mean, I've been so slammed with work and um I won't even actually watch. I may as well, I don't know why I'm avoiding spoilers. I'm not going to be able to watch Raw anyway.
It's true. It's a good point.
Yeah, yeah,
I'll be home. I'll be watching.
I work Monday. It's game one. Um, so I may as well just look at the spoilers, but whatever. I guess I'll entertain myself. One thing from Raw that I don't want to say feels a little smaller, but it being 2 hours, a lot happening. Bronson Reed not being on it. I don't want to say it hurt, but it was like, man, I would have loved to see Bronson Reed just come out and just absolutely destroy some people in the search for Seth Rollins
Yeah.
after he got like I would have loved for that to be a segment.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna get that next week. I think that's a segment we get next week now. Again, I haven't seen all the spoilers, so maybe we don't, but I can totally see, thought we were gonna see on Monday, Bronson Reed coming in, storming through the back, through the locker room, searching for Rollins and Pierce, stopping him. If you touch him, you're fired, you're suspended or whatever. So then Bronson goes on a rampage and he needs somebody. So he absolutely murders Tozawa or whatever, just to like fill the time frame until their eventual matchup. It does hurt a little bit not having him on TV because I understand like they wrote him off for the week after the curb stomp onto the stairs, the last monster standing match. I get that, but he's the kind of guy to like overcome, to not be put down by the curb stomp, to return next week and raise hell. I'm sorry, I am a little surprised they didn't do it, but I only think it's again a predicament of the 2 hour Raw. 3 hour Raw, I think he comes out and either kicks the crap out of Rollins again or attempts to and gets stopped. Maybe there's a whole beatdown. I don't know, but it's obviously all leading up to an eventual match. Seems built for Saudi at this point, which, if you ask me, knowing the title matches, we're going to get at least two of them, non title matches, I should say. That's the match on the card to see. Seth Rollins versus Bronson Reed. That's what's got me tuned into Saudi. Bronson Reed alone is a big reason why I'm tuning into Raw every week. So it is again disappointing to have him off the show.
Hey, you brought up the title matches. We got to talk about it. I know we've mentioned it a little bit, but the more I think about it, the more I just hate, hate that Cody versus Gunther is happening this way. Like to me, that's just it's such a marquee money match. Like, all right, it probably wouldn't main event WrestleMania, but this is absolutely the main event of a SummerSlam or something like that. Cody Rhodes versus Gunther for the first time, and this is the way we get it. And it's just like, I don't want either of them to lose. I don't want there to be a screwy finish, but like this is the type of match that needs a screwy finish. I don't want one title to feel bigger than the other. And like a lot of times you get into these matches, it's like, oh, we'll have the world heavyweight champion win because we need to elevate that title and make it seem better because everyone thinks that WWE is big, whatever. I just can't stress how much like this is truly if you're a boxing fan or an MMA fan, whatever, and two of your favorite fighters happen to be in the same weight class and they have somehow avoided each other this entire time and now they're about to fight and you're like, "Oh no, I can't root against the other. Like this is too much." I hate it. I hate
Yeah,
everything about it.
I'm not a fan. Not a fan at all. I think it takes away from the next not only pay per view PLE but the 4 weeks of TV. because we're leading up to non-title matches, no real warrant in anything going on. This is all just holding us over for what's to come after the fact, which I understand, if Gunther were to defend the belt against Sammy and Saudi or somebody else, yeah, he's going to retain it and move on anyways. But still, that's better. That's a name off the list. It's a head on the totem pole, a head on a spike for Gunther. Cody Rhodes being a champion facing him, there's so much behind those two guys. There's a feud you can build with the two of them in the Rumble, with the two of them being champions. All it takes is one of them losing the title and then having a real feud for the belt. Not a fan. I think if you're doing it, which they are, it's easier to have Cody lose one way or another, whether it be interference or a clean finish, whatever. Cody taking the loss makes more sense to me. Us, C2 Wrestling, Gunther Stan accounts. Okay. Gunther's going over no matter what for me. I want Gunther to win that match. But do you think it's a possibility that somebody else interferes in this match, costing Gunther by the name of Bill Goldberg?
God, I can't express how much I hate it. I really can't. Like, I know there's some people that want to see it, and I think you yourself or you'd be down for it. I just, it does nothing for me. We already got the cool moment, the funny promo from it. It just, this is this is a waste of time
So,
for my goat.
so here's what it does for me. This is why I want Goldberg versus Gunther. I will say before that, I want it, but this is not how I want it. Goldberg interfering in the match, costing Gunther, whatever, not at all how I want it. If anything, that match happens however it happens, and then on Raw, whenever you're going to do this match, you simply have Goldberg challenge him, whatever. The reason why I want the match, and I think it's a fun idea, is because Gunther, man, we've said it. So many wrestlers have said it. Personalities have said it. He is a wrestler of the past, a total package. He is the guy. He blends so well into every style of wrestling. He's got this old school feel to him that him versus Goldberg, like on paper, is a marquee matchup. I understand the disdain towards Goldberg, but something about Goldberg, I do feel he does deserve that one more like redo, at least a little bit. Listen, I'm signing the dotted line and taking that Saudi money myself. I get it.
Of
He did
course,
not have a
same.
great run of matches against Taker and Fiend and whatnot. And whether that's on the hands of Goldberg or not, it's only going to propel Gunther. Goldberg, yes, he's another head on a spike, but it's not even really that for Gunther. When I look back at the list of the opponents he's beat, Goldberg is not the biggest head on that spike. Hell, he's probably a forgettable one. But we are going to remember Gunther for putting on Goldberg's best match of his entire life in his retirement match. And that we may not want it now, but in hindsight, when the fans are able to look back and go, all right, Goldberg did have that was a pretty good match. That's not that bad. If Goldberg retired after Mania 33, we would look back fondly because he came in, he may have won at Survivor Series, but he did the job in the long run. 33 in a fine match against Brock. We would be A-OK with Goldberg, but they overdid him for a while. That's why people don't want him back. One more versus Gunther. I want it.
If I remember correctly, wasn't his match against Reigns not bad? I think his match against Reigns was pretty like for a
Yeah, I think
Goldberg
that.
match. I think it was a decent match, right?
Yeah, I think that was decent. Obviously, the
It
the
was
Taker
short.
match is
Yeah.
what. Yeah, of course, yeah, and that's what this match would be too. Listen, this Gunther Goldberg match gets no more than 9-10 minutes at most. If Gunther can stretch it and yell some crap to the crowd and whatnot, all there. It's going to be the typical couple spears, maybe a power bomb or two here or there. But again, I think that would be fine to look back at and go, Gunther is really the best of all time. He was able to put on a fine match with Goldberg of all people. It only adds to the history of Gunther.
I think that's what hurts me even more with Gunther Cody happening. because you think about it on paper, you're talking about how Gunther is just this old school type wrestler and character. Their characters, especially where they're at right now, more so than for when they faced in the finals of the Rumble. It is enhanced so much more now that you have the ultimate white meat baby face American hero in Cody Rhodes and the ultimate foreign heel in Gunther. And then on top of it, you have the Cody Rhodes, yes, grandson of a plumber, talks about the trials and tribulations of his dad being famous but not rich. And Gunther's newest character is you're broke as hell. I grew up with a rich family and I can't disappoint them. Like it is just every single aspect that I look into this match, it checks off the perfect box, like the box of making it a perfect matchup where it's like, all right, heel versus face. Oh, American versus foreigner. Oh, rich versus poor. Like you go to their promos, complete opposite promos, like everything. Their style, like, you know, one tries to slow the match down, one tries to speed it up, like everything. It goes the opposite. And this is the way we get it. It's like this is a match made in heaven.
It
And it's
is.
this way. Ah, it's just
You know,
upsetting. I shouldn't
it
complain because I'm getting to see the match at least.
yes, but where I complain on this is because there's a whole other world of wrestling fans out there that is going to complain about me saying this, I'm sure. It's not just about the match. It's about the build. It's about the story. This is your modern day. This is your modern day Hulk Hogan versus Iron Sheik. Yeah, maybe there's not a war between Austria and the US going on. Sure, it's a little different in that aspect. But this is your modern day son of a plumber, American hero versus your bad guy foreigner. That is a money feud. You said fits a SummerSlam, which it absolutely does. Hell, that's your top heel and your top face. That fits a Mania, if you ask me. Built correctly, that's a Mania. Sorry, Mania main event.
Yeah, I think it could be. I don't think like I'm just thinking more so in like closer time, the Rock's going to be involved in these main events. Cena,
Mm-hmm.
Roman, obviously, just thinking it out loud. Like it is 1000% a main event of a top show and arguably should main event a WrestleMania. I don't want to complain because I'm getting the match and it is for me a dream match. I've talked about this on this podcast about how it was, they were keeping them away from each other. I'm glad it's happening. I just don't like the way it's happening.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad it's happening, but I don't like the way it's happening. One thing I am glad about, and I'm glad about the way it's happening, is this channel, C2 Wrestling. It's been great. We're only 2 months at this, guys. We are not that far in, keeping consistent, pumping content out, and it's been nothing but a blast. We only got more coming your way.
A whole lot coming. Long road ahead. We're not going anywhere. Follow all of our socials. Subscribe on Instagram. Turn on notifications. Every time we post all that stuff. If you're on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, whatever it may be. Thank you all so much for listening. Catch you guys tomorrow for some SmackDown videos, whatever. Head to the channel. There's always content coming out. We'll catch you guys next time.
Food in my teeth, thank God.